What is up, YouTube? What is up, Instagram? Hope you guys are having a good Monday night. We're back in the bathroom and we're back to business as usual. I don't know if you guys were here last Monday, but last Monday I wasn't quite feeling it, so didn't actually end up smoking whatsoever. But back in business, going to be lighting up. I think, I forget what I'm smoking tonight. Let me see. Tonight, we are partaking in, this is what we're rocking tonight. As people keep asking, someday maybe I'll get a weed sponsor. That'd be pretty cool. Weed companies slide into the DM. Otherwise, let's light up. Let's do some Q&A. As usual, feel free to ask me anything. Jump in the comment section, whether you're watching this on Instagram or YouTube. Always happy to answer your questions and just hang out on Monday night. Meanwhile, I'm going to light up. So how's everyone's week going so far? Monday off to a good start, hopefully. Today's one of those like fake holidays where it's like the civic holiday. Did you guys take today off? We didn't take today off. What's going on here, YouTube? Well, perfect timing. I just got home. I'll go roll a fat backwood. Awesome. Appreciate you hanging out. Welcome to smoke along at home, but also no pressure. You do you. Hey, Jeremy. Yo, Matt, happy long weekend. What's your perspective on BRRRR versus flipping? Yeah, Bruce, I think both are good investment strategies. I think the real key is just what are your overall goals as an investor? I obviously started out doing BRRRRs, then eventually dabbled with a couple of flips. With hindsight, if I was to go back and do it all over again, I think if you want to quit your day job as fast as possible, if you want to reach financial independence, retiring early as young as possible, I think first building up a really strong active income stream is the better choice, and then pivot towards building up that passive income or cash flow. Now, that being said, I think you can approach this in one of two ways. One, you can build up your current day job, and you can literally just take your day job, build that into a high earning skill, and then focus on building up the passive portfolio. Or alternatively, you can become a flipper, build up some capital, and then pivot in towards the passive income game. I think both are very valid strategies. Again, really just depends upon what you want to do. But if you want to quit your day job fast as possible, likely flipping is going to be the faster path there. Now, I've had my buddy Dan DeVoe on the YouTube channel in the past. We actually did a great interview series where he discussed being always broke. And so Dan's about maybe 15 years deeper into the real estate game than myself. And with that comes a lot of perspective and experience and just time involved in being an investor. And so one of the things he really hit home on when he first met me was that the BRRRR investment strategy would be a great way to build my net worth, but I would never be cash rich. And I can tell you with personal experience, that's absolutely true. So for the first, 5 years of being a real estate investor, I was really building up my net worth, but it wasn't necessarily translating into like spendable cash. And then even in the next 5 years as an investor, really, again, there's just always another deal. You're always like stretching yourself thin. You're always trying to squeeze together one more down payment to go do one more deal. I mean, it makes sense, right? You want to control as many assets as possible. But the one problem is if you're not generating any active income, you're almost never going to take any off the table. And so if you're never taking any income off the table, you never really have any buffer. And so I think that that's something that stresses out a lot of successful BRRRR investors. They're building up their net worth, they're crushing it on their spreadsheets, but when it comes to actual cash in their pocket, they don't necessarily have a lot of it. Jeremy says it's relatable, always stretching. Yeah, man, I went through like 10 years of always stretching myself thin as an investor. Worth it, totally. If I could redo it, I'd maybe approach things slightly different, but is what it is. At the same time, now that I've hit the 10-year mark, I've recently been selling off a chunk of my older portfolio, focusing on buying more apartment buildings. And now I'm really starting to build up that cash reserve and cash buffer. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it feels good to have cash in the bank. Probably the first time in 10 years that I've had significant cash in the bank, but feels good. I like it. But at the same time, cash is just dead money. So I also don't like just sitting on dead money either, but there is that certain sleep at night factor. Question, hey Matt, what info stats do you look for on CMHC Stats Canada in the city's website? Say maybe for BRRRRs or wholesaling deals. Sure. So for CMHC data, the first thing I'm going to be really looking at is the average rent prices, as well as the average rent on vacant units. Those are two very valuable stats. As well, going to be looking at things like what the vacancy rate is. Also, what's great, CMHC breaks down the average rent and the average vacancy based on the unit type, not just on the city. So for example, I can know what bachelor apartments are doing for average rent and vacancy in London, Ontario, as well as what a 3-bedroom or larger apartment's doing or a house. So those are some great data points that I'm always going to look towards CMHC for. As far as going to like your local city website, what I'm really going to focus on there is the employment picture. Who are the major employers? What industries? What's the unemployment rate in general? What's the immigration trends? What's it projected out into the future? All those are really critical things to be aware of when investing in real estate in any market. Now, the one thing is you can spend a lot of time learning this information and studying it. And to me, it's one of those, just studying it a little bit will pay massive amounts. So you don't need to be an absolute expert and understand the entire population migration trends in Canada. You just need to understand, 5, 10, 20 years from now, is there going to be a lot more people living in your city and your market or not? And some of those basic ballpark numbers are very useful. For example, in Brantford, Ontario, right now the population in the metro area is about 100,000. By 2040, Stats Canada is projecting that it's going to be 160,000. That's like a 60% increase in population over the next 20 years. That is massive. That's very attractive as a real estate investor, or at least based upon my business model, that's a very attractive statistic. So if all of a sudden you can just understand a handful of statistics, you can start talking intelligently on your local real estate market. It's going to be useful for you, one, just in helping you with your general confidence in investing, but in addition to that, it's also going to be very helpful for you when it comes to potentially raising money or bringing on JV partners, attracting money partners, things of that nature. The more intelligently you can talk about your real estate market, the more confidence you're going to project. More confidence you project, likely the more money you're going to get. What's up, Nina? What's the line you cross to decide to in-house the PM contractor side of the business? Is it solely once the dollar threshold is crossed, or would you account for any other factors? Mina, yeah, I think the only other factor other than once the dollar cost threshold is crossed in regards to property management and when to insource or outsource that would be what my long-term plans are. So if I'm just slapping together a portfolio and going to piece out in a couple of years, I might just be able to stumble through hiring third-party individuals. But if I'm trying to build an empire, odds are I'm going to want to insource or in-house property management just because it's such a critical part of your business model, especially if we're doing BRRRRs or buy and hold real estate. So because of those reasons, I'm likely going to try and in-house it if my goal is to build that empire. Again, now if my goal is to buy 5 units and piece out, it's not going to make sense to try and build up the systems, procedures, processes. I'm probably better off to go get 6 units and have that 6th unit pay for the property manager and then keep the proceeds from the other 5. So it definitely is nuanced in regards, in my opinion, but for most people that are looking at building up a really large portfolio, I think you're going to want to insource property management. It's really difficult to align your interest with the interest of your property manager. I wish it was easier. Maybe I'm just bad at it, but at least if I'm just bad at it, I know a lot of other investors that are also bad at it. So let me know your tips for hiring good property managers in the comment section, guys. I'm always open to learning. What else is going on here, YouTube? Hello from Windsor. Do you think real estate is going to go down over the next year? By how much? I do not have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you with certainty. The one thing I can tell you is pre-COVID, the real estate market in southwestern Ontario appeared to be quite robust. I mean, Windsor, Ontario was seeing double-digit appreciation. London, Ontario was seeing double-digit appreciation. We had a relatively low unemployment rate. We had a pretty robust minimum wage. We had very low vacancy rate. So, and we had a general narrative in society and the broader media towards millennials or young people never being able to afford homes. So due to a variety of factors, I think there's actually a lot of pent-up demand when it comes to the real estate market. So I overall don't suspect that we're going to see a massive drop in real estate, but this is me speculating. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. But there's 40 of you guys watching me right now on YouTube and only 4 thumbs up. It'd be really cool if I got a couple more people to smash the like button. And Instagram, you guys do your heart thing, but it doesn't feel the same. The thumbs up actually feel like they matter on YouTube. So appreciate the 3 people, nice. The 6 people that listen to me, thank you. What are your thoughts on the 1 to 2 year backlog at the LTV? Doesn't that make you feel uneasy buying more units and taking on existing tenants? Yes, the problems we have with the LTV and their backlog is extremely concerning. I can't even think of another way to frame it. The one thing that I will do is focus on what's in my control. So I can't solve the LTV problem, but what I can do is try and be proactive. So 1, I'm going to negotiate a lot harder these days to get vacant possession of units, because that's something that's completely in my control. I can control whether I choose to buy properties with tenants or not. And in general, because of the fucked up system we got, I'm going to refuse to buy a lot of buildings with existing tenants, particularly tenants that appear to be problem tenants. And I'm going to build that into my price model. So if you've got a tenant right now that's not paying you, understand that I'm going to build into my business model that I'm not going to get paid for 2 years. I'm going to factor that into the price, just straight up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that it just is what it is. So I'm going to build into my business model. Now, beyond that, again, at the end of the day, tenants are humans, and most humans are good people, and most humans just want to get along. So I'm also not going to enter into a mindset where it's always me versus tenants, but certainly there are bad actors, just like in any set of human beings, you're going to get some bad actors. And if I believe a landlord currently has some bad actors, I'm really going to price that into my purchase model. And that landlord's going to see my AB offer, right? Vacant possession and existing tenants. You got shitty existing tenants, my offer could be tens of thousands of dollars less because I don't want to inherit your shitty tenants. So straight up, that's my primary way of dealing with it. What's going on here? Hey bro, I'm burning over here, 2 from the US. Awesome, man. What's up? Going to your workshop in 2 weeks. Excited to get started. Any tips to prepare? Awesome, man. Well, 1, looking forward to hanging out with you at the workshop, or the workshop. And what I would just really recommend is get clear on what you want to accomplish as a real estate investor. I know that's my number 1 request of all investors, but please do, and definitely for the weekend workshops or the weekend boot camps we do with Cashflow Tribe, I really encourage you guys, spend some time, think about what you want. This is something myself and my team do every now and then, and we've started trying to build in quarterly reviews just where we can take some time and really think, what is it that we want? Because way too often, and if you guys are a high achiever, you'll also fall victim to this. Like, you get so busy working in the business that you don't spend any time working on it. You don't get any time getting perspective and really starting to build out that roadmap for the 1 to 5 years. You're too busy on the next 1 to 5 days or the next 1 to 5 months. And while there's value in just cranking out that work, at the same time, if we get lost among the trees trying to find the forest or whatever, that does come back to bite you, because your business will never grow. You're never going to level up. You're never going to be building systems and processes in place. You're just going to be running around playing firefighter, putting out fire after fire, rather than like, teaching people to put out their campfires. So we really need to find that balance. So I would encourage you, before the weekend workshop, just spend some time thinking about, why real estate investing, what does it really mean to you? What does success look like for you, say 5 years from now? And then just come with an open mind and let's really dive into it. And, let's figure it out. All right. Question: how do I go about ensuring I get a finder's fee if I do not know the buyers that well? Yeah, great question. If you don't know buyers well and you're afraid they're going to cut you out of the deal, 2 things. One, overall, what sort of deals are you doing? Are you being very transactional? Because for myself and my team, our reputations precede ourselves. So do people try and cut us out of deals? Yeah, I hear about people trying to cut us out of deals. Do I like it? No. Does that mean that they're eventually just going to get blacklisted from me and my team? Yeah, probably. I mean, again, real estate's a small world. So if you're the sort of person that's always out there screwing others or ripping other people off or going back on your word, it won't take long for shit to spread about you, right? And then all of a sudden you become isolated. All of a sudden you become, a man alone. And so for me, in general, at least in our investor network, I trust that people want to maintain their relationships. So I'll usually go on a trust but verify, but then I'll also look at what's the worst case scenario. So for example, if the worst case scenario is someone screws me out of $1,000 finder's fee, overall that's going to sting a bit, especially if you're new to real estate investing. But understand, one, you found a deal, and that's what's actually important, especially if that was your first deal. So just get the first deal, find the first deal. Even if you get screwed out of the finder's fee or wholesale fee, or something goes sideways and you don't make the money you think you should have made, understand that proof of concept, just knowing it's possible, that's what's important. That's the magic moment. Once you have that proof of concept and you believe this is possible, you can just go replicate it. And all of a sudden, once you start really believing you can just go replicate it again and again and again, all of a sudden, you approach life with a different perspective, knowing you have that skill set, knowing that you can kind of always just reach into the ether and extract value. So I wouldn't get too hung up worrying about someone screwing me over on my first finder's fee or 2. Now, if you do a few deals and you're consistently getting screwed over, you might have to grow some teeth or get a bit more aggressive. But in general, I don't find that there's a ton of people constantly being taken advantage of when it comes to doing deals or things of that nature. Because again, if you found one deal, odds are you're going to find more deals. If I'm buying this deal from you, I probably want to buy more deals off of you in the future as well. Now again, that's not to say everyone works that way, and there's definitely bad actors out there, but I just wouldn't spend too much time worrying about it at the start. But good luck going out there trying to find that first bird dog deal. Hey Matt, how accurate do you think the Acre system is presently? Do you use the scorecard or any of the techniques mentioned in the book? I don't really remember the Acre system, and I've just never really used it. So I've definitely, I think, was that one of Don's books? I think I've read it, or Jeff Wybos told me about it, but I'm not familiar with the Acre system, so you'd have to break it down for me. All right, what else is going on here, YouTube? Confidence to reach into the ether and extract value. Yes, sir. We are smoking probably just going to mispronounce that, so I'll just show it. It's what I'm smoking tonight. Someday I dream of getting weed sponsors and getting paid to smoke weed. It's not just for rappers anymore. All right. Hey Matt, I'm trying to get into multifamily and I'm at a point where I could use a mentor. How would you recommend finding a mentor? Do you have one? Did you have one when you got started? Yeah, definitely mentors I think are a very valuable relationship if and when you can find them. Now, the one thing I'll say to everyone is understand people have this romanticized vision of what a mentorship relationship should be. And they view it as this like, this wildly successful individual just like plucks you, out of your daily doldrums and, recognizes the beauty and potential in you and really helps you rise up to that level. That's not the way, like, realistically, most mentorship relationships are. And they're often not even necessarily defined in that mentorship mentee role. What it is you often just start building a relationship with someone and you start to really value their opinions and perspectives. And oftentimes that's because they've got a lot more experience and wisdom than you. I've talked about it and I've got a YouTube video on it really discussing my mentors, but I explained how a lot of times the mentors I had definitely weren't a formal mentorship role. It was more me looking to try and make the most of that mentorship opportunity. So the first mentorship I can really think of was when I was working as a dishwasher and prep cook at a local restaurant. And the owner of that restaurant would explain some basic business principles to me, eventually give me some small responsibilities and roles, and eventually let me kind of work my way up into a greater understanding of the business. And again, it wasn't like he was going wildly out of his way to help me. I would argue, one of the better, harder working people at that restaurant. And so you naturally reward that person with more responsibilities. And again, you would often just kind of work your way into these roles. And so that was one where it just kind of exposed me a little bit more to entrepreneurship and being a business owner. And I just tried to absorb as much as possible. Another mentorship role that I've talked about in the past was with a local real estate investor here, right after I quit my day job. So quit the day job because real estate investing, just wanted to go full time, do that or retire, wasn't really sure. And I was just creeping on Kijiji, which is Canada's Craigslist. And I was just browsing through it, looking for some sort of random opportunity. Who knows, right? There's always random shit on Kijiji. You can always make a quick buck there doing something. And I was going through bookkeeping and accounting ads, and someone was looking for a bookkeeper, and he said he was a real estate investor. I did some quick reverse engineering or reverse Googling on the email address, figured out who it was, and realized he owned a large parcel of land here in London. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm wildly overqualified for this position, but I would love to work for you for free as long as you're in the room when I'm working for free. So as long as I get to work in the same office as you, I will work for free. And literally, I just want to be exposed by osmosis to what he does, right? Hey, you own a piece of land that's worth over $20 million. I just want to be in the same room as you for an extended period of time. And I'll do free work. And so literally he was just well, that's a weird proposition. I need to meet you now and, figure out what you're about. So had a conversation with him, ended up taking a small job with him and just got to be around him, right? And so then got to drive him around a bunch, got to listen to a bunch of his phone calls, eventually got exposed to his entire financial picture and really got to understand the intricacies of his businesses and the business models he built and how he succeeded. And again, this was just me making the most of it. He had 2 kids that were completely ungrateful, did not respect all the hard work that he had put into the business. He was a difficult man to get along with, but still interesting nonetheless. And again, for me, that's where these mentorship opportunities come from, is just you spotting the slightest opportunity. Another one was in university. My last year at university, I was trying to, I just got another comment from someone hating on my landlords are evil reaction video. You guys understand how many socialists are out there? How many people literally think it's wrong to be a landlord? Crazy. It's concerning, the number of people out there that just don't understand what the system would look like otherwise. But anyways, back to the mentorship role. My last year at university, myself and one of my roommates, I lived in a 6-bedroom student rental house. And me and Jake, we both knew we wanted to get rich, but we didn't know how we wanted to get rich. And we were chatting one day just about like coming up with schemes on how to get rich or whatever. And finally I was just like, Jake, your dad's rich. He owns like a tire company. I was like, just ask him how to get rich. And so he went and asked his dad, literally like, how do we get rich in business? His dad said, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that like opened the gateway for me, right? And I would literally call that mentorship, even though I never met that man, never spoke a word to him, I don't think. And all he did was give us one book recommendation. But because I knew he was a successful businessman and he recommended this book, I really took that on as like a mentorship opportunity, read that book, and then in the back of that book was a list of other books to read, and just read every book. So for me, it's been rare that I've had like this mentorship role where someone like really spent a ton of time investing in me and trying to raise me up. Now, that being said, I try and be that to a lot of people, or a lot more people, because the little bit of mentorship I did have, I feel like really helped me become who I am. And so, for example, I do the, like this house where I've got a bunch of my employees and mentees living with me. I've got another house where a bunch of the wholesalers and mentees live with me. Cashflow Tribe, where myself and Ben try and mentor, hundreds of Canadian real estate investors, and constantly trying to pay it forward, because I think there's so much value in that. And even these days, like I'm constantly looking towards mentors and mentorship. Like right now, I would say one of my mentors is Ben Horowitz. He has no idea who I am. He may never meet me, but I'm studying him, right? I'm reading his books, just learning more about him, about his VC firm, about Netscape, just all the different iterations of things. And again, that to me is a mentorship role, even though I may never meet that dude. And that's all right. So just understand that a mentorship role or a mentor doesn't necessarily have to fit within like some sort of predefined box. Now, if you are trying to find in real life mentor, I think the best thing first is kind of define what you're looking for. And then if you're serious, like you're going to have to put a lot of effort into it. You're going to have to put yourself out there a lot. You're going to really have to, like, there's going to be times when people don't want to mentor you, and that's okay. You're just going to have to accept that and move on. But that still doesn't mean there's not lessons you can take away or learn from them. So, food for thought there. That was a fun question. Thank you for asking. Hello from Winnipeg. I've been hold a fourplex since 2009. Cash is good, but the value of the property hasn't changed almost. What would you do if you want to upgrade the game? Switching cities? So in summary, if I was investing in a market that had been sideways for 10 years and I didn't see any reason for it to go up, like maybe there's no real employment prospects, maybe population growth isn't there, maybe cost of construction is really low, so it's cheaper to build than to buy existing, who knows? But if there's a variety of factors that are negative pressure on the housing market, I would definitely take that into consideration when figuring out my business model. Now, the other thing is, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to earn active income, passive income, build net worth? And again, this is where just really getting clear on your goals as a real estate investor is so critical. For those of you that have heard this speech 1,000 times, but still haven't spent the time to get clear on your goals, take this as the nudge to get clear on your goals. So I would really get clear on your goals first. So for example, Matt McKeever, one of my first goals was I wanted to be able to quit my day job and just have time to figure out whatever I want to do. And if you're in a similar position, if you're in a similar role, if that similarly sounds, attractive to you, then what I focus on is, what's the bare minimum you need? For me, it was a couple grand. So literally I need to try and replace, if I could live for free in one of my buildings and make $2,000 a month and spend bulk cash flow, I'd be fine. I'd be set for life. So I was like, okay, well now, if the average unit I buy is $200 in units in cash flow per month, in spendable cash flow, that means I need 10 units. Okay, so I need to acquire 10 units. What's one of the fastest ways to get to 10 units, And then you just build it down to these tiny milestones and then execute ruthlessly on that. And so once you're clear on your business model and what you're trying to accomplish, it makes it really easy to figure out, say, what city or what market or what neighborhood, what price point to invest in. All right. Ooh. Where do you see your business going? What is your vision? Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Bo. Yeah, where's my business going? Hopefully it's going up. I'm definitely a serial entrepreneur, or at least in my head I am. So I'm sure I'll start other businesses and do other things in the future. But right now I'm spending a lot of time and energy on Cashflow Tribe. And I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. So I just see, right now I'm spending a lot of time on this website and some new courses and new education, some new tools. Guys, we're about to crush the Canadian real estate investor scene, and you don't even know it. And I'm so excited to be rolling that stuff out. So mid to late August, regular Cashflow Tribe members, you can look forward to that. So that's going to be a big part of my business for the foreseeable future. Beyond that, we're going to keep buying apartment buildings with my other entity. Hopefully we'll buy 100, 200 units a year because that's the business model. So we'll keep doing that. The wholesaling business, we just had our best month ever last month, and I think that we're only going to keep going up. So that's very exciting because it's really growing in spits and spurts. And I'll be honest, it was a little bit harder again to launch consistently than I expected. And that's in part based upon the business model I chose and kind of the partnership model with the mentees I take on. So that's definitely partially my fault, But that being said, it's still been interesting to see it evolve. And then, yeah, that's probably enough businesses for right now. So hopefully I'll just keep on the business I'm doing. I won't start any new businesses for a while. I have this habit of just wanting to go start new businesses, and then I just hope that the business that I had just magically takes care of itself or gets better. And if you get the right people in place, it absolutely can, but getting the right people in place is often easier said than done. I can casually market myself to all non-business owners by saying I've worked with some of the top realtors in my city. All right, I feel like I walked in mid-conversation there. Do you invest in index funds? Andrew, no, I don't really invest in index funds. I don't really have strong hate or a strong opinion against index funds. If you're going to park your money somewhere, there's probably worse places to park it. In general, I don't love paper assets just because I don't have direct control or influence over their value or over the returns they produce. So a piece of real estate, I can try and find its highest, best, most efficient use and then execute on that use and hopefully, make money from it. Where a stock, a paper stock that's publicly traded, unless I've got 10% or more, I don't have significant influence. I can't really make or influence any decisions. So I'm essentially just a victim to the market in the greater fool theory. And I can cross my fingers and hope that the rest of the market will pay me more than what I paid for it, in which case I'm rich. But if they don't, I'm poor. And that to me is just not a desirable business model. Where with, cash flowing real estate, I can own it and cash flow. I can sell it. I can live in it. I can have other people I know live in it. There's just more opportunities, it feels like, with it for me to have direct influence over how that asset produces. And so because of that, I'm naturally drawn to it. So I'm not much of an index guy. I used to love playing with paper assets in my 20s. So I get that desire, especially the idea of just becoming a paper millionaire overnight. People do it, but I think in general, I like the idea of owning chunks of businesses or real estate rather than owning just a share in a giant pool. Now, at the same time, like if the pool's big enough, you can almost guarantee you don't lose because the government will step in to save you. But I just don't like that business model. For a BRRRR, after refinance, when I pay down the existing loan and take remaining cash for maybe 20% down on the next deal, how can I qualify for the remaining 8%, especially when I've taken a larger loan? Fernandez68, if you're cash flowing on the property, odds are it should debt service or kind of close to debt service in and of itself. If not, you can try and find ways to make it better debt service so that you can qualify when it's time to go get the next mortgage. Thanks, Matt. One of the things that feels risky due to the unknown property tax increases we will see in the US due to the massive debt we're taking on. Yeah, Andrew. And I guess I don't really know how property taxes work in the States, but is it the federal or state level or municipal level governments taking on massive debt? Actually, probably it's all three. But I guess in general, I think of it as being the federal governments that are taking on the greatest amount of debt. And so they're usually not the ones getting the proceeds from property taxes, right? Usually isn't just going to be the municipal and or state level governments that are going to be taking those. So I guess in general, I don't see property taxes as particularly a higher inflationary risk than any other consumer good. And in fact, I think maybe even safer than things like electricity or water or gas, like gas is in like heating gas. So yeah, again, that's just my perspective. I don't have a crystal ball, but at the same time, governments are always going to be changing the rules. We're just always going to have to adapt to them. We don't necessarily have to like it, but in general, you've really got three options, right? When government changes a rule, you can quit, you can adapt, or you can rebel. And the last one's pretty extreme, so most of the time we'll defer to the first two. What are your thoughts on the Canadian banks? Too big to fail? Yeah, I would think that they're pretty big here in Canada. If you were to suddenly lose like more than 10% of your banking system overnight, that'd probably be concerning. Actually, I don't even know what the smallest of the big banks would represent, but it's got to be double digits, right? So, and they probably do so much shady business with each other that if one domino goes, it probably wouldn't be long before another. So I don't imagine that if we see one of the big Canadian banks fail in our lifetime, we're going to see a lot of stuff happen in our lifetime. That's got my approach to a lot of things. When people kind of throw out worst case scenarios at me, I'm just like, yeah, that could happen. If it does, a lot of other shit's going down too. Yeah, I actually do. So that's funny you say that, Mayu. Mayu asked, solid investment for a drip. So I actually do like drips, and I do have a small drip portfolio, and it is tied in with Canadian banks and utilities. That being said, it's not as significant, like by no stretch of imagination. And like it might even be almost a rounding error in regards to my net worth. But yeah, I do have a small drip portfolio with Canadian. And it's actually my name too. It's not a synthetic drip. It's a real drip from the drip.org internet forums. Has anyone here ever played around on the drip.org internet forums? Yeah? Where you used to like buy a person a virtual coffee by paying them $10 and they would then send you a share certificate? You guys might be too young. Hey Matt, what would you say to someone buying a property for solely a vacation rental? Jacob, yeah, I think vacation rentals are interesting. I think the biggest thing you just need to figure out is a vacation first or a rental first? So you just need to get really clear if this is primarily a lifestyle decision or an investment decision. If it's an investment decision, it's all about the numbers. If it's a lifestyle decision, you can compromise on a lot of things and rationalize and justify as you like, but you should probably just set some basic parameters going in so that your emotions don't hijack you too much and take you too far off the prime directive. But yeah, vacation rentals, I think especially here in Canada and probably parts of the US as well, if anything, I think we're going to see domestic tourism increase dramatically. And so things like vacation rentals and desirable domestic locations could do quite well. So originally I was interested to see what would happen in the cottage market. One, I didn't know with some of the demographic changes we're experiencing, whether we'd see the same social norms and desires for cottages. And secondly, with the baby boomers getting older, I also didn't know if we'd see the next generation be able to afford the costs associated with those assets. But again, with this kind of shift because of COVID and borders being closed and things of that nature, I think we're going to see consumer habits change so dramatically. One thing I've been thinking about recently, I'm just going to hijack this now and talk at you guys rather than talk to you. But one thing I've been recently thinking about is whether I need to study the Japanese market and economy more, because Japanese culture is obviously quite different than certain aspects of like North American culture, but there's certain aspects of it that my understanding has developed due to a certain like social isolation that occurs in some of their larger city centers. And so because of that, there's things like, you know, renting a dog or renting a girlfriend or renting a boyfriend or renting like a person to just like come to your birthday party and things of that nature. And it really got me thinking about, you know, with COVID-19 and some of the social norms changing here, as well as just some of the consumption patterns and habits changing just because we've been through quarantine and isolation for such an extended period of time, whether we could start to see a lot more of those businesses or cultures from Japan and other more like already socially distanced cultures, if we could see some real business opportunities here. Food for thought, guys. I'm thinking about it. I haven't really done a lot of studying on it yet though. Kind of like to, just haven't had the time. So I guess if anyone's a modern day Japanese culture aficionado, slide into the DMs. I'd like to pick your brain. Comment section got real quiet all of a sudden. All right, let's see what else is going on. Vending machines, Matt. Vending machines. Yo, Mike McCracken, what's up? I was actually thinking, rather than vending machines, I don't know if you've seen, but like a bunch of the variety stores and gas stations have been getting acquired. And like all of a sudden I was trying to have a massive distribution network. If you were to suddenly own like all the Max Milks or all the, you know, Petro Canadas or whatever, and then you had like a Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats, all of a sudden like you've got a pretty rapid, massive distribution system there. I couldn't really come up with what my angle was, but I was like, I feel like there's something there. I don't feel like vending machines, like I know in Japanese culture, vending machines are a big thing. But I don't know if I see that stuff happening, but maybe. I just feel like in general, we're just not going to see large clusters and large gatherings and density and travel. And so that naturally makes me think you won't have the same foot traffic that you'd want in order for vending machines to be successful. But I don't know. ATMs. Where do you think Airbnb future is headed? I think Airbnb will be fine. If Airbnb's not fine, some sort of competitor or clone will come up in its place. I think the sharing economy is here to stay. So I think it's Pandora's box is opened on that. So again, like if all of a sudden tomorrow Uber was outlawed and Lyft was outlawed, some other sort of workaround or car sharing solution would come up, just because it's such a fundamental, efficient use of resources compared to what our current system is, that just like once the free market gets a taste of it, I just can't see it letting go. Dog rental is a great idea, too much trouble, but would be fun to have one for the weekend. Yeah, Phil, like, so that's the sort of thing, right? Like, where it's like, yeah, like, same, I don't want to own a dog. And if maybe like people that are socially isolated a bunch, they just want to connect with an animal occasionally, or maybe different animals, I don't know. But I feel like there's probably some great business ideas to be had there. Tesla robo-taxi. Yeah, Tesla's definitely got something there. Weed vending machines for sure. What kind of weed do I smoke? I smoke whatever weed is in front of me. I don't really believe that most of the weed I get access to is that segregated between sativa or indica, but I could be biased. Maybe that's a limiting belief of mine. But in general, I'll smoke anything, and I feel like I haven't had consistent exposure to high enough quality weed where like I was like, ooh, indica's my thing, or ooh, sativa's my thing. But yeah. All right. Are you into real estate development? No, I don't really do real estate development. The thing is with real estate development, it takes a long time, it's a lot of work, and it's really risky. None of those things are particularly attractive to me. So, lipstick flips or lipstick BRRRRs, for me, that's way more attractive. Basic, easy, repeatable, simple, not sexy, but you can make good money off of it. So even like the apartment buildings we buy and stuff, everything's like super structurally sound, everything's solid, it's just a little dated, just needs a little TLC, and that's really what we're focused on. Again, that's not to say that there aren't opportunities in different asset classes. The one thing I will say is for most beginner investors, I honestly think real estate development, raw land development, so literally taking raw land and developing it, I think that that's a red herring. I think that that's such a distraction and a waste of time in general for the average beginner investor. Now, you may be the exception, and if so, tip the hat to you, but certainly for the 99%, they're better off doing some lipstick flips, gaining some confidence and momentum, stacking some successes first, and then maybe looking at diversifying into bigger projects like that. Although this Friday, we're going to have a great Finance Friday video coming out on real estate development, where we're going to get into the finances behind it and like what the loan amounts are. So make sure you watch that video. It's probably going to be pretty long, but it's really good information. So definitely make sure you check that out. But again, I do think that most developments are a distraction for the average investor. It's a big business. Like, it's a big business. A lot of work. What else we got going on here? All right, student properties fully rented out 2021. Michelle, I believe they are. Most of them are. I've got one apartment building that's primarily students that I don't think it's all rented out, but it's not like end of the world not rented out either. Yes, hit the like button. Would definitely appreciate that. I mean, there's 80 people watching me smoke weed right now on YouTube, and only 30 people have thumbed it up. And I find it hard to believe that 50 of you are hate watching it. I mean, that would be a lot of people just hate watching me. There's a mall here in SF, bully 3 years ago, never had a tenant. How's your buddy Kellen doing? Haven't seen him on in a while. Yeah, Kellen's doing good. He's just doing his thing. I think he's just really enjoying the semi-retired life. So still, actually, Kellen is buying 2 buildings off of me. So that's what Kellen's up to. Kellen will be increasing his portfolio by 12 units while I decrease my portfolio by 12 units. So maybe we'll do a YouTube video on that. So yeah, I don't even really know what else Kellen's up to, but actually, I just feel like I've been a shut-in since COVID. I kind of like it too. Like, I'm one of those people that COVID was no good for me because, like, COVID just encouraged some of my lesser, I don't know, like, my lesser instincts, I guess, where I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'm never leaving the house now. Now that you taught me how to grocery shop online, we're done. I don't need to go out into society anymore. So really, unless people come to me, unless people book a Zoom call with me through Lara, I'm pretty much just doing my thing in the house, growing my crazy ass COVID beard. Actually really starting to get attached to it too. Just get makes me smile. Hey Matt, when you are talking cash flow, do you count the money you set aside for vacancy repair in that, or just pure cash after accounting? Great question, Sean. So when I'm saying spendable cash flow, that means after accounting for things like property management, repairs and maintenance, vacancy and bad debt. Now each investor will have their own ratios or percentages they use for that. For me specifically, I like 10% property management, which I include, so 10% property management to me is actually 8% property management, 1% snow, 1% grass and lawn, and then 5% repairs and maintenance normally. Now I'll adjust this depending upon the building, its condition, age, things of that nature, and then 5% for bad debt and vacancy. Because right now here in London, pre-COVID, we were rocking like a 2.1% vacancy rate. So, a 5% for vacancy and bad debt, relatively reasonable. What's your opinion on kneeling for the US National Anthem? I'm not an American, so I don't see any reason to get into it. I understand it makes some people heated. I think that any sort of nationalism that is that extreme, or that sort of jingoism that's that extreme that you could be upset by what someone physically does during the singing of a song, seems like you're prioritizing things that don't matter. So that would be my PC version of saying my opinion. But again, I just feel like there's a discussion that no one's going to win, and I don't really want to make us think about one way or the other. Again, I think I made my opinion pretty clear there, but yeah, I don't know. It's being honest, it's been very interesting in 2020 seeing the vast spectrum of reactions. The one thing I think I'm beginning to learn, and I understand that people say Canada isn't perfect either, and I will give you the benefit of the doubt and accept that statement. However, I do suspect that Canada is culturally different than large swaths of the United States. And that to me is fascinating, because I always felt like we were literally the same. I felt like we had the exact same TV shows, we listened to the same music, we essentially had the exact same culture. And yet now, I feel like maybe we didn't always have the same culture, or maybe we only had the same culture in a way. And that's interesting to me. It's something that I definitely need to spend time to think about, because the level of reaction on all sides of the spectrum is really interesting to me. Yeah. I see someone here already upset at one of my opinions. Where do you find distressed landlords that are motivated to sell? Everywhere and anywhere. Step one is just always be talking about real estate investing. It's really important that you just embrace a perspective and a attitude of like, I'm just going to talk to everyone about real estate, and I'm just going to let the universe know that I want to invest in real estate, because who knows, someone might eavesdrop on my conversation, tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm a real estate investor too, and I'm thinking about selling my portfolio at 100% BTB. Are you interested? No, it's probably not going to happen. But if I don't have that conversation about real estate, there's no way they can eavesdrop on me. So step one is just constantly be talking about real estate, constantly be looking for opportunities to interact with people that have real estate. So again, if you can, in a non like douchey way, kind of bring every real estate or every conversation back to real estate, it can be a great way to really let everyone know what you're up to and what you're into. Matt, I've got a duplex in Sarnia. What an accepted offer. The inspection highlighted some big issues, the knob and tube wiring, and some other smaller issues. Need your advice on a runaway. On it, runaway. Starkey, I think to me, it's just a business decision, right? So I would factor in the new cost that you discovered in regards to that property and factor that into your business model. So, knob and tube, is the entire house knob and tube? Is it one run of wires? Is it unknown? It'd be pretty rare these days that you'd have an entire house that's knob and tube, but certainly within the realm of possibility. If it is completely all knob and tube, what are we looking at? Somewhere between maybe 7 to 10 to 15, depending upon how big the house is, to rewire the entire house and maybe put a new panel in and stuff. So 7 to 15 grand. Factor that in, build that into your spreadsheet. And I guess if it's a duplex, maybe it could end up being a little bit more if you're going to separately meter everything. Maybe you got to put a new mask in and stuff if it used to be pinned. But yeah, to me, there's just numbers and data. So I would just really get dialed in on what the data tells you. And I would adjust my offer accordingly. Wish we had the 1031 exchange though. Man, do I wish we had the 1031 exchange. That is the bee's knees when it comes to real estate investing. Awesome, guys. Cool. Well, we're coming up to an hour. Appreciate the approximate 100 people between YouTube and Instagram just hanging out with me while I smoke weed in my bathroom on Monday nights. That's super cool of you guys. And I really enjoy these hangouts. So if you guys enjoy them, please do smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, and sharing is caring. But also just commenting, interacting, all that stuff is good for the YouTube algorithm. And definitely give us your feedback on the other videos we put out. I know we're not the best at having call to actions to tell you to comment on every video or to smash the like button every time, but you guys just should. Because all the content we do is free. A video a day. Literally a video a day. Well done, Peter. A video a day. But just keep spreading the love. Before you make an offer, do you have a contractor evaluate first? King, sometimes I did. Sometimes I wouldn't. Really depends upon the property and my confidence. These days, it's going to be less likely I'm going to walk through a contractor unless it's a complete gut job, in which case, absolutely, I'm going to walk through my contractor. But looks like we're about to get cut off here. I got 1 minute left on Instagram. So are all the wholesalers on your team in London, or do you have wholesalers outside? Right now, Cody, everything's in London, but we may be looking to franchise someday. So we'll probably spread out eventually. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. All right, what else is going on here? YouTube. Hey guys, what's up, Knight Rider? Would be nice to see you guys talk shop and differences between US and Canadian real estate investing. Yeah, there's definitely big differences between Canadian and US real estate investing. Part of the problem is we just oftentimes don't know what we don't know. So I think a lot of investors that are intricately familiar with the US won't be intricately familiar with Canada and vice versa. But the 1031 exchange is by far one of the biggest things that most investors will bring up. Obviously, we've got different like corporate structures and even just different like taxes in regards to what sort of investment or what sort of vehicle you've got your investments and properties in. Yeah. Are your wholesalers 9 to 5 only? No, our wholesalers are intrapreneurs, so they're always on the clock if they want to make money. Would you JV a project if it's done on a handshake basis or on a more formal basis? Michael, there's what I do and then there's what I should do. So I absolutely should get every single partnership and JV on paper, and there should be a written contract. In the past, I've been less formal, but I've been very open and honest with myself about my partners, as well as what my worst case scenarios were and whether I could accept that. So for me, that worked. But the first group of investors I ever worked with, like the first 5 or 6 properties I bought, were all with guys that I knew since grade school. So like literally we were in kindergarten or grade 1 together and on. And so because of that, there's a certain level of trust and understanding and small farming communities, so you know each other's families and shit like that. So because of that, I was comfortable not necessarily having everything in writing, but I would honestly like our relationships were exceptional. So I would really encourage you guys to get everything in writing, just because worst case scenario is you got it in writing and you didn't have to. I mean, that's your worst case scenario if you get it in writing. Your best case scenario, and your worst case scenario if you don't get it in writing, is get into a really messy breakup. That's not fun. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. Appreciate the 60 of you still chilling with me on a Monday night at like 10:30. Super cool of you guys. And let me know if you want me to do more lives. I've been thinking about maybe doing screen shares while I play video games, because I would like to find the excuse to play video games and yet still be able to call it productive. So let me know if you guys would watch me play Kingdom Crush while I answer your Kingdom Rush? Yeah, Kingdom Rush, that's it. Kingdom Rush, while you ask me real estate questions, because I would do that. Because I saw Peter doing it live on his YouTube channel, and it looked like a lot of fun. I was like totally jealous. All right, thanks guys. Talk to you later. See you on the next video.